Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Raymond Yeung. Here are tonight's top stories. All adults will be able to get a third COVID jab to stop the Omicron variant. Xi'an is placed under lockdown as China battles a COVID outbreak 6 weeks before the Winter Olympics. And the Pillar of Shame statue is dismantled and taken away from the University of Hong Kong. Two expert committees say all adults should get a third jab in order to prevent any Omicron outbreak in the community. They also recommended a second dose for children between 12 and 17. Johanna Chan reports.
To increase protection in the community against any Omicron outbreak, the Center for Health Protection's two scientific committees have recommended that all adults get a third COVID shot, 6 months after their second. But those going overseas for studies or business can get the booster 3 months after their second jab. Currently, only high-risk groups and people who had 2 Sinovac jabs are allowed a third shot. Chief Executive Carrie Lam has said the government hopes to launch booster jabs as early as next month. Adolescents aged 12 to 17 were earlier banned from a second jab because of a high risk of heart inflammation. But after reviewing new data from Canada, the experts recommended that they receive a second dose, 12 weeks after their first.
That second dose, with the 12 weeks interval, would result in the myocarditis rate reduced by at least one-tenth. So with that projection, I would think in Hong Kong, if you use the Hong Kong data, with the 21 days interval, for the very high-risk male adolescent is 1 in 3,000 to 4,000, then it will be down to 1 in 30,000.
As of yesterday, over 6.1 million doses of BioNTech have been administered out of the nearly 8.8 million that Hong Kong received. But experts said there will be enough doses to go around. Hong Kong registered 2 imported cases today. One is a flight crew member who arrived from Ethiopia yesterday. The other is a woman from Britain. Both were double jabbed. Johanna Chan, HKIBC.
China is grappling with a worsening COVID outbreak in Shanxi province, 6 weeks before the start of the Winter Olympics. Authorities put the city of Xi'an under lockdown and tightened antivirus measures at the games venue. Sarah Wong reports.
As the clock winds down towards the Winter Olympics in Beijing, a COVID storm is brewing in the central province of Shanxi. New local cases have ballooned by 91 in the capital Xi'an, pushing the cluster there above 230 since an outbreak began 2 weeks ago. 13 million residents are under lockdown. Only one person from each household can go out every 2 days to buy essentials. Transportation was brought to a standstill, with trains and long-haul buses grounded and taxi banned from high and medium-risk areas. Even motorists who tested negative were barred from high-speed roads. Neighboring Shenyang City scrapped all domestic flights until further notice. Although the cases are of the Delta variant, infectious disease expert Zhong Nanshan warned of Omicron's contagious nature and urged vigilance. The growing outbreak prompted Winter Olympics officials to tighten restrictions after banning overseas visitors to the event from February 4th to 20th. All athletes have to be fully vaccinated, preferably with a booster too, 14 days before arriving to avoid group quarantine. When the action begins, everyone will undergo daily testing, with close contacts of confirmed patients isolated for 2 weeks. But those who need to compete can go ahead if they test negative 6 hours before the event. Beijing is also building 2 massive all-day clinics, which will be staffed by English-trained doctors, while 18 existing hospitals will be designated for the Olympics. Sarah Wong, HKIBC.
U.S. regulators have authorized the use of the first oral COVID treatment pill made by pharmaceutical giant Pfizer. This came as Europe stepped up the fight against the Omicron variant, while a COVID outbreak worsened in Britain. Sarah Wong again.
Britain heralded the holiday season with a bleak COVID milestone, adding a record 106,000 cases in the past 24 hours. Among the new cases were another 13,000 Omicron infections, pushing the tally of the highly contagious variant past 74,000. But the latest data suggested that those with Omicron are less likely to be admitted to hospital or the intensive care unit. Still, the soaring caseload is straining Britain's healthcare system, with the Conservative government refraining from further lockdowns. Belgium, however, joined a growing list of countries to tighten restrictions. Cinemas, theaters, and concert halls will be closed and indoor activities banned after Christmas Day. People in Spain will have to wear face coverings in crowded outdoor places. Meanwhile, the United States, the worst-hit nation, has added one more weapon to its anti-pandemic arsenal: Pfizer's COVID treatment pill.
We will have 265,000 treatment courses of Pfizer available in January, with monthly totals of pills ramping up across the year, and all 10 million treatment courses delivered by late summer. We will ensure equity is at the center of antiviral distribution.
Global regulatory agencies are weighing on clearing the drug, which can be taken at home before symptoms worsen. Other countries have stepped up inoculations, with France starting to vaccinate children aged 5 to 11. Israel may go a step further, mulling a fourth COVID dose for those over 60 and healthcare workers. The World Health Organization is determined that the pandemic should be brought to an end next year, but that it insists can come only with vaccine equality.
Blanket booster programs are likely to prolong the pandemic rather than ending it, and boosters cannot be seen as a ticket to go ahead with the planned celebrations without the need for other precautions.
Tedros urged countries to unite and fight against the pandemic, which has caused deaths and economic pain, and also distrust and divisions. Sarah Wong, HKIBC.
Locally, in an overnight operation, the University of Hong Kong dismantled and removed the Pillar of Shame statue, which has been on the campus since 1997. The Dane who created the sculpture to mark the Tiananmen Square crackdown said he was totally shocked. Isaac Lee reports.
At around 10 last night, workers covered the 8-meter sculpture with white cloth. As security guards stood by, the Pillar of Shame was cut in half. At around 3 a.m., the upper part was put in a container, while cranes lifted the base. 3 hours later, the dismantled sculpture was transported from the Park Fulham campus to the university's Kaduri Center in Yuen Long. In a statement, the University Council said members decided at a meeting yesterday to remove the fragile statue because it posed safety risks. It also cited legal concerns, saying displaying the Pillar of Shame may be illegal. In October, the university asked the now-defunct Hong Kong Alliance to remove the statue. But the group which organized the June 4th vigils refused, saying it didn't own it. The sculpture had been loaned permanently to the Alliance by Danish sculptor Jens Gauschuot. In a statement, he accused the university of damaging his property. Gauschuot said HKU did not respond to his offer to remove the sculpture himself. The Pillar of Shame was created to commemorate those who died in the crackdown on June 4, 1989. It was transported to Hong Kong in May 1997. The Hong Kong Alliance displayed it in Victoria Park, before HKU students moved it to their campus about a month later. Until this year, the now disbanded student union used to clean the pillar every June 4th. Isaac Lee, HKIBC.
The Ombudsman has accused the authorities of being too passive in taking action over dog license breaches. This came after the government watchdog found that almost 170,000 licenses had expired in the past decade. Johanna Chen reports.
There's nothing quite like frolicking in the park with man's best friend. But dog owners beware. Invalid licenses are illegal. All dogs 5 months or older must be licensed, microchipped, and vaccinated against rabies. The license must be renewed every 3 years. In the past 10 years, the Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department, the AFCD, issued 637,486 licenses. But 26% of that number, or almost 168,000, have expired. 39%, or almost 66,000, have been invalid for 2 to 5 years, and 28% for even longer. Currently, the AFCD does not prosecute owners unless their dogs are not properly controlled or have bitten someone.
We consider that is enforcement action too passive. We find that quite a lot of dog owners have not licensed their dogs or have not renewed the license. And in such, that will bring problems to the AFCD when there are investigations that needs to take place. So we recommend that the AFCD conduct sporadic inspection of the license at public places.
The Ombudsman suggested that owners be notified before licenses expire, and vets should help in license applications. The watchdog found several instances where the license information was inaccurate or outdated, leading to dead ends for further action. The Ombudsman urged the department to follow up on violations and step up education and publicity. Johanna Chan, HKIBC.
And coming up after the break, Hong Kong's food trucks approach the end of the road. And shares of Tencent climb as it reduces its stake in mainland e-commerce firm JD.com.